do not know what my hair is doing today. Whew. Oh, you just don't want to stay back there, do you? Ah, that works. Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Annabeth, and today, as I'm recording this, is December 29th, 2023. So it's almost the end of the year. It's almost New Year's. So given that fact, I thought we would talk a bit about knitting goals. So that includes the knitting goals that I had for 2023 that I was working on throughout the year, the new knitting goals I'm setting for myself for 2024, and anything I might be like changing or adapting or putting a little asterisk next to. Yeah, all that good stuff. But before we get to goals, I do want to run through a quick, hopefully super quick, little knitting update for you guys because I do have some new acquisitions. I don't have a new finished object since my last knitting update, but I do have some updates on acquisitions and whips. So I want to show you those really quick and then we'll get into the goals. So first up is acquisitions. Alright, so for acquisitions, I have 2 acquisitions from my last knitting update, 2 yarn acquisitions, and then a few knitting book acquisitions that I want to show you guys really quick. So first up is this. This is the colorway Charlotte from Pasley Knits, and it is on her Cloud base. And I have sung the praises of Cloud base so many times, so I don't think you need to hear it again. But just the breakdown is 75% baby alpaca, 7% merino wool, and 23% nylon. So it has a lot of fuzziness, but also a lot of strength to it, which is great. And then the yardage, so even though this is a bulky weight base, the yardage is 284 yards per 100 grams. So it's a bulky weight, but I only had to get 4 skeins for the planned project for this yarn, which is the Matthew Pullover by Sher from Aimee Sher Makes. So this is going to look so amazing in the like seed stitch texture and the cables that are in that sweater. I'm so excited for it. So that was yarn acquisition number 1. And then yarn acquisition number 2, you may remember I got the Twice Sheared Sheep advent calendar for this year, and box number 25, so the Christmas Day box, was this. So this is Malabrigo Worsted, which I have not used yet. It's colorway 684, which is Chameleon, and it just has some lovely reds, greens, blues, yellows. It's so beautiful. This will probably maybe turn into a pair of like fingerless mitts or a hat or something. I don't know yet. I don't really have a plan for this yet, but whatever I decide, it's going to be beautiful because, I mean, just look at all these colors. Amazing. And the worsted base is a worsted base, approximately 210 yards per 100 grams, and it's 100% superwash merino wool. So there we go. Those were the 2 yarn acquisitions. So next let's talk about non-yarn acquisitions. Okay, so the non-yarn acquisitions were books. These were all books I got for Christmas. So just a quick run through of these. This is Worn. So Worn, A People's History of Clothing by Sophie, I think it's Tannhauser. Sophie Tannhauser or Thanhauser. And it is a book, obviously, and it goes through the history of different textiles. So there's a section on linen, cotton, silk, synthetics, and wool, and it just talks about like the origins, like the geographic locations that specialize, and I don't remember who recommended it to me first, but it was on my Amazon wish list for a while, so I got this for Christmas, and I'm super excited to dive in when I'm in the mood for like a nonfiction read, which isn't often, but I think given that it'll be a nonfiction read that has to do with clothing and textiles and a little bit of knitting, I think it'll be pretty interesting. So that was book number 1. Book number 2 Dun, 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 the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible. So if you're familiar with this, it's by Gail Rome. I think that's how you say it, R-O-E-H-M. I think it would be Rome. I really should have looked some of these up, but it is a book of exactly what it sounds like, knit stitches, so a lot of lacework, some cables, some slip stitches, and it just offers, like just flipping through right now, so much inspiration for maybe potential future designs. But it does specialize in like cables and laceworks and textures, so that's awesome. So that's that one. And then the last two books, let me just throw that on the floor really quick. The last two books are both by Andrea Rangel, and they are the Knitovation Stitch Dictionary and Alternate Stitch Dictionary. So as you can probably tell, these are both colorwork motif stitch dictionaries. And so one of them has over 150 and one of them has 200 knitting motifs, and once again, these were on my wish list for potential like design inspiration. And then also she has some great resources in both of these books about designing as a whole, not just the motifs to offer inspiration. So like it talks about how you could design like a circular yoke, or combining some of the motifs for a larger colorwork design, or something like that. So more resources for potential future knitting designs, which is super exciting. So yeah, those were the 4 non-yarn acquisitions. Sped through those kind of quick, so that's good. So next I'm just going to give you a quick little whip knitting update, and then we'll start talking goals. Okay, so moving into whips. Forgot to pick that up off the floor. So first whip that I'm still working on is my vanilla socks, and she finally has a finished first sock. What? So yeah, I have a finished first sock, and I'm actually about to start the gusset decreases on my second sock. So I know in my last knitting update I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to get these done before New Year's. It's the 29th, so I mean, if I get the gusset done today, get the foot done tomorrow, and the toe done on New Year's Eve, I'll get these done, and they can be added to my 2023 totals, I guess. So once again, I'm knitting these in the Little Foxes from her Wicked collection, Because I Knew You and Defying Gravity. And yeah, vanilla sock, heel flapping gusset style. That's really all I have to say about that. It was a struggle to finish the first sock just because I was not in the mood for sock knitting. But then I got the first sock done, and good on me, go past me, I immediately casted on the second sock. So since then I've been just like daily getting a few inches of sock work done. I was talking to Rachel from Anthroknits about this, and she used the term, gotta take your vitamins on some of these projects. So work a little bit every day. You don't have to spend all your daily knitting time on it, but just do a little bit. And that's what I've been doing, and now I think I will finish them by the end of the year. So they're like my vitamins socks. Get it done because it's good for you. So that's whip number 1. Whip number 2 has grown a lot since I last showed you. Whip number 2 is this guy. This is my Oversized Seasons Cardigan by Ozetta, and I am knitting it in the Noro Ito yarn. This is colorway 6. I still don't remember what its real name is. And I have just split for sleeves. And this is my first garment project in like a half fisherman's rib stitch. So I'm really enjoying it so far, but I've also only knit it flat so far. So if you've done half fisherman's rib before, you know that the right side is the knit one below, purl one, but then the wrong side when you're knitting flat is all knits. So I've really enjoyed knitting this so far because it's not like I have a full row of purls. However, the sleeves are knit in the round. So that means it'll be alternating rows of the rib stitch and then a row of purls. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take my vitamins and I am going to do one sleeve, at least one sleeve first before continuing with the body, because also the body presents its own challenge now because this is my first time doing a simultaneous button band on a sweater, on a cardigan, so I have to learn how to like knit the buttonholes as I go as well. So we're just learning a lot of new things with this cardigan. So like I said, I'm probably going to knit at least one of the sleeves first to get one sleeve out of the way. If I feel like going immediately into the second sleeve, great, I'll do that. And then I'll finish the body and then like treat myself to knitting half fisherman's rib not in the round, flat again with no complete rows of purls. So yeah, that's where we are. We split for sleeves and yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. But can we just appreciate for a second how the Noro yarn, also people, my progress keepers, my daily progress keepers, just how the yarn is striping. It's so beautiful. And like, I know when I do the sleeves, like they're not gonna match up perfectly, but I'm not mad about it. Like this is just gonna be a really big, like super colorful, comfy cardigan. It's gonna be lovely. So yeah, that was whip number 2. Some good updates for ya. And like I said, I have no finished objects from since my last knitting update. So that means we're gonna get into the bulk of today's video, which is knitting goals. Talking about this year's, talking about next year's, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Alrighty, here we go. So, first let's talk about the goals and like what I was keeping track of for 2023. If you see me looking down, it's because I have my computer on my lap to reference things. So the first thing that I was keeping track of was the 2023 G in 2023 challenge that Rachel is Knitting started. Rachel from Rachel is Knitting started. So G stands for grams. So the goal was to use 2,023 grams of yarn over the course of 2023. And I succeeded in that pretty quickly. If you have been following me on Instagram for a while, you know that. Because I would post like monthly updates of all the things that I was tracking. So ultimately, I ended up splitting it into 2 categories. I did a total grams and yards of yarn used over the course of the year, and then I did a total for personal projects, so projects that I was keeping for myself, because I did do quite a bit of gift knitting this year as well. So I had 4 carryover projects from 2022. So what I did with those is I weighed them on New Year's Eve of 2022, and I marked down their weight on that day. So then when I then weighed them when they were done in 2023, it like, I put in a formula into my Google Sheet here to like take out the weight that I made last year or in 2022, and then so basically only the yarn that I used in 2023 is what I counted. So I took out the portion of those projects that I had knit in 2022. So anyway, the total grams for personal projects, let's start with that. So the total grams for personal projects that I did, that I used, was 4,695 grams. Now, I should have put a disclaimer, or should have said a disclaimer at the start of this section. I have not finished that pair of vanilla socks yet that I showed you, so these numbers will probably change a little bit once I do finish those socks. So not totally the final absolute total, but they're not going to change that much because it's not like these are 600 gram socks or something. Like, at most it's going to change by maybe like 100 grams. So yeah, total for personal project, 4,695 grams of yarn used, which equaled to about 16,106 yards of yarn used. So that was the total for personal projects. Pardon me. And then the total grams and yards in general, so that includes any gift knitting that I did, was 7,206 grams of yarn and 21,404 yards of yarn. So as you can see, I beat the 2023 challenge, grams challenge, so that's good. I think I will probably do something like this again next year. I don't know if Rachel's gonna put together like an official like 2024 gram challenge or what, but I might still just like keep track of it anyway. I have the spreadsheet made already. I can easily just make a new sheet or whatever. So yeah, that was the first one, the first little challenge that I was doing, year-long challenge. The next one that I was keeping track of was the Beefy Socks make-along that was being hosted by Kate from Red Door Fiber Studio. So the premise of this one was just to make some socks over the course of 2023. So that one could have been knitting, could have been crochet, yeah, any of those was an option. It was just like, how many socks do you make over the course of a year? And then I think, I still have to do this, but I think we just need to make a post with like the total of how many socks we made, and then like that's how many entries we get in the giveaway or whatever. If she's still doing that, and if not, that's cool. I still kept track of how many socks I made. So in total, I have made, at this point in the year, before finishing that vanilla pair of socks, I have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pairs of socks. So this final pair of vanilla socks will be my 10th pair of socks, and then that'll be 20 socks total over the course of the year. So that's awesome. My stretch goal was 12 pairs of socks to kind of make like a pair of socks a month to average out like that. But I hit a real like sock knitting slump in the summer and into the fall, so I was like, I'm not making socks right now. So I ended up with 10 pairs of socks, or I'm going to end up with 10 pairs of socks, so that's good. And like I said, it was a stretch goal anyway to do the 12 pairs of socks, so I'm not upset by it by any means. And this is another one where I might keep track of how many pairs of socks I make in 2024. I might not. Once I get going with my sock machine, then we'll see. We'll see, like, because obviously I'll be able to literally crank out a lot more socks over the course of the year. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to keep track of that one again. And then, like, obviously if Kate does another make-along or something like that, I don't know if I would count cranked socks or not, for me personally. Like, I might just count hand-knit socks rather than handmade socks. So yeah, that's one I still have to decide on. But in total, Beefy Socks 2023, I will have made 10 pairs of socks, 20 single socks total. Pretty solid. So then the third thing that I was tracking for 2023 was I was tracking a net stash change. So I was not, for this year, I was not trying to get like a net negative stash change or like try to like pare down my stash by a certain amount or anything like that. I was just gathering data for over the course of a year, how much does my stash change. So this included, so things that I factored into this were yarn acquisitions that I bought or won in giveaways or anything like that. I also factored in the yarn that was used up in projects over the course of this year, and then I also factored in any D-stashes that I did. So I really only had one D-stash this year. In August, I did a big D-stash where I put a couple big bags of yarn. It was mostly like worsted weight acrylic yarn that I didn't have a plan for, didn't really have a use for anymore. It was like a bunch of Red Heart and it was mostly Red Heart stuff. So like the first yarn that I bought when I first got back into knitting years ago and was still holding on to. So I put that on my community's Buy Nothing page, and some people picked it up. So that was the one like really big D-stash that I did. And that ended up, I ended up offloading, I weighed the bags themselves, so the numbers are about an estimate, but that ended up offloading 5,694 grams of yarn. I just calculated net stash change in grams. So that was a big help, and then in total, my net stash change was a positive 695 grams. And the total yarn that I added, total yarn that I added to my stash. Now this number is a little wonky because when I logged this D-stash in this table, I had to put it in as like a negative number. So I think this number might be a little wonky. Because it says 7,901. But that's probably not actually accurate because the formula for that cell is just a basic sum, so it is factoring in the Buy Nothing offload. I might need to adjust that to actually be accurate. It's fine. The important thing was the net stash change, really, so like I said, that ended up being a positive 695 grams, and I'm not expecting any more acquisitions to add into this in the next 3 days. Everything that I think I had any like outstanding yarn orders have since been delivered, so that should not change by the end of the year. And I did already factor in the final package that I opened from my In the Stacks New Year's calendar from Teeny Button. I already factored that in, so yeah, good stuff. So net stash change was in the positive and was almost a positive 700 grams. So that's good information to have. So yeah, those were the three things that I was consistently tracking over this year. So next let's talk about what I'm going to be tracking and what some of my goals might be for 2024. Alrighty, so now getting into 2024 goals for the upcoming year. Got my handy dandy notepad here now. So just looking at these, they kind of fall into 3 different categories. So there's things I want to learn, there's things I want to make, and then that's like make/track, I guess. And then there's things I want to design. So first up, things I want to learn. Number 1, I want to learn how to use Ashley's spreadsheet more. So if you watched my yarn inventory video, Ashley from Ben Knitter has this amazing yarn spreadsheet, yarn inventory, yarn stash spreadsheet. And and it's free to use, which is amazing. You just have to request access from her. If you request access, only request access once. Otherwise, you're literally going to be spamming her email inbox, and that's annoying. She'll give you access within 24 hours. Chill out. Anyway, sidetracked. So I inventoried my indie and hand-dyed yarn using that spreadsheet, and I've been updating it with various yarn acquisitions that I've gotten this month. And she has some amazing tutorials and how to use different aspects of the spreadsheet, like how to make a pivot table. That's just one I know she shared recently. I don't really know what that means. So I need to learn. This is something I need to learn. So I would love to learn how to use Ashley's spreadsheet some more, learn some of the different aspects of it, and just learn how to use it as a tool. So that is one goal that I have for the next year. And it really comes down to, you know, watching her tutorials and applying it to my spreadsheet and stuff. But either way, I'm going to use it more. And then the other thing that I want to learn is I want to learn how to use my circular sock machine. You might be able to see it back there. It's still in its box. Its unpacking and setup is content for another video, so that's why I haven't talked about it much. But if you noticed it back there, yeah, it's back there. Very exciting. So obviously the other big learning goal for 2024 for myself is to learn how to use my sock machine and to make some socks with it. So there we go. 2 learning goals. Gotta learn how to use the spreadsheet a little better, and gotta learn how to use my sock machine. In general, like, I understand it as a concept, like you're cranking out socks. I gotta learn how to actually use it though. So then next category is things I want to make / things I want to track. I feel like they kind of go together, so they're one category. I am going to once again track my grams and yards of yarn used. I know I can use Ashley's spreadsheet for that, but I like my very basic looking table right now, so I'll probably just like copy that over to a new spreadsheet and start over, use the same format and whatnot. So I'm going to track that again. I also, if you follow me on Instagram, this morning I posted my Make 9, which was 9 sweaters that I want to hopefully potentially make in 2024. And they're all sweaters that I could potentially make with yarn that is currently in my stash. So looking at that, I have the Stick Season sweater by the Creabea. I have the Heirloom Quilt cardigan. I have the Seren sweater. I have the Lento pullover, the Antique Flora pullover, or sweater, Antique Flora. I have the Woolen Honey sweater. I have the Daft Days cardigan, the Matthew pullover, and then the Rivendell pullover. And if you check out that post, you'll see the yarn that I've kind of assigned to each of those sweaters already. So that's something else that I'll hopefully be making and keeping track of over the course of the year. And it'll be really interesting to see that Make 9 that I've set up now versus like a Make 9 that I make a year from now, to see what I actually ended up making over the course of the year. So that's making / tracking goal number 2. And then making / tracking goal number 3 is I've decided to give myself the goal, it's not really an ultimatum. I guess there's a better word for it, but I want to have a net negative stash change in 2024. After tracking just general stash change this year, I think I should be able to do it, because as I said in my yarn inventory video, I am going to use the data from that and what I learned about how much yarn I actually have to hopefully be more mindful about my yarn purchases in the next year. So being more mindful with my yarn purchases, trying to work from my stash as much as possible, and all of that good stuff. Maybe some destashing here and there if I fall out of love with some yarn that I have, which is valid. That's cool. I'm allowed to change my mind. I have a right to free will. Then I should be able to get a net negative stash change by the end of the year. So here's to hoping for that. So yeah, making / tracking goals. I'm going to track grams and yards again. I have my Make 9 sweaters, which are probably subject to change and probably will change. I mean, let's be honest. And then a year is a long time. And then my net negative stash change goal. So that's category number 2. And category number 3, I said, was a designing goal. I want to put out maybe 2 more patterns in the next year. I have hopefully some things will be changing for me in the next year, and with that in mind, my time that I can spend designing things, designing sock patterns and whatnot may change. So with that in mind, my current goal is maybe 2 more sock patterns in 2024, and that does not count the Moonrise socks that are currently in testing and should be releasing early February. That doesn't count. That's one that I designed in 2023. It's just finishing up its actual release process now. I want to fully design and release 2 more patterns in 2024. So yeah, 6 goals total across those 3 categories. I think it's pretty manageable, especially because a couple of them are just like, watch videos and figure out how to do it. But it's good. We need some manageable and we need some more stretch goals. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got for 2024. If you want to let me know what some of your goals for 2024 are in the comments, please do. I'm so excited to know what other people's... I hate using the word resolutions because I feel like it's such a January word. It's such a January word, and it's something that everybody's like, aha, yeah, my January resolutions, I'll forget about it in February or something. So like, what are your goals for 2024? It can be just January goals, it can be the first half of the year, first quarter of the year, whatever, let me know. Yeah, so that's all that I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You can turn on notifications to know when I next upload a video. There's a good chance my next video is going to be unpacking that big box behind me. Actually, both of those big boxes behind me, so pretty exciting stuff. You can also follow me on Instagram at annabethkntwrthy with underscores between the words. And yeah, Happy New Year, guys. I hope the end of 2023 is kind to you. I hope the best of your 2023 is the worst of your 2024. And overall, I just hope, as always, that you have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.